Hello and welcome to the AFBI Cross-Creevy virtual variety visit for winter wheat in collaboration with CAFRE. Today we're going to be looking at some of the varieties that are in the UK recommended list trialling series funded by the AHDB. The plots we're looking at today haven't received any fungicide or PGR, so you'll be seeing the varieties without any protection against disease. In terms of disease in the 2020 growing season, generally it was very slow to build. We had a very dry early summer, and towards the end of June, levels of septoria had only reached about 5% in more susceptible varieties. We did detect some levels of yellow rust and mildew as well, but in the most recent disease score in mid-July, what we saw was that we were getting up to 15% of septoria in more susceptible varieties, and yellow rust was reaching 20%. So the two main diseases this year have been septoria and yellow rust. Going forward, to achieve more sustainable cropping, it's very important that growers select varieties that provide protection against disease, and this, coupled with careful use of fungicides, is really the way forward for sustainable cropping. There are 46 varieties in trial in total. This includes 4 new varieties that are provisionally recommended for the first time in 2020, and there are a total of 17 candidate varieties. We're focusing on those varieties that are relevant to Northern Ireland, and although we will be able to see the candidate varieties, we have very limited information on those at the moment. Crusoe is the first variety, and this is one of 4 bread-making wheats that are in NABIM Group 1 in the HDB Recommended List Trial Series. Focus tends to be on quality rather than yield, so they tend not to make good options for Northern Ireland in terms of feed wheats. The other 3 are Skyfall, RGT Illustrious and KWS Zayat. Graham is a feed wheat in hard group 4 and has been very popular in Northern Ireland for several reasons. It's very high yielding. Its treated yield is currently 102, untreated 88. So it has a low yield penalty, good untreated yields. It has good straw strength, and it also has very good disease resistance profile. It has high Hagberg falling numbers, which means that it is also resistant to sprouting, and grain quality is good too. It also performs well on heavier soils, and going forward, Graham still provides a really good option for growing a feed wheat in Northern Ireland. Costello is a hard group 4 variety that has been around for some years now. Its treated yields have fallen in comparison with newer varieties, 99 treated, 81 untreated, but provides good disease resistance to mildew and yellow rust. It is relatively later maturing, which isn't ideal for Northern Ireland conditions, but it does have short, relatively stiff straw. It has high Hagbergs and high specific weight. The high Hagbergs means it is not susceptible to sprouting, so has potential in Northern Ireland if you can cope with those later maturing dates. Sprath was first recommended in 2017. Its treated yields are currently 102, untreated 81, so it has a low yield penalty due to disease. Its specific weight does tend to be a little on the low side, but other positives are that it performs well throughout the UK and across a range of soil types and rotational positions. It also has very good resistance to yellow rust. LG Sundance is a soft group 4 wheat. Treated yields are 100, untreated 85, so reasonable yields. It does have low specific weight though and is relatively late maturing, so perhaps not an ideal variety for Northern Ireland. Lizard is a group 3 variety. Its treated yields are 100, untreated 81. It's stiff-strawed, has good resistance to yellow rust and brown rust, but it does have a lower Hagberg falling number, so it could have a tendency to sprout, and potentially is one to avoid for Northern Ireland. RGT Gravity is a hard group 4 and was first recommended in 2018. It has good treated yields of 103, untreated yields below 80%, which is 79. Other characteristics of this variety is that it performs well across a range of soils and rotational positions, but it is susceptible to mildew, which probably explains why its untreated yield is slightly lower there. Gleam is another hard group 4. It has very good yields at 103 treated, 84 untreated, so again, very good performance without fungicide. Gleam, as its name suggests, has good overall resistance to the main foliar diseases, and it performs well across the UK and across a range of years, rotational positions and soil types. A very consistent variety, Gleam, and potentially a good one for Northern Ireland.
LG Spotlight was first recommended in 2019 and is a soft group 4 feed wheat. Its treated yield is 103%, untreated are 80%, and it has a reasonable disease resistance, although its septoria resistance is less than average at 5.1. It has good strong straw and has performed particularly well on heavier soils.
LG Skyscraper was first listed in 2019 and is a soft group 4. Its treated yields are 105, untreated 83, which suggests it has relatively good disease resistance, which it does, but its septoria score is 5. Hagberg falling could be better as well. It's 218 compared, for example, to KWS X Days, which is 297. So whilst it holds a top position along with Insitor for treated yields, it has a couple of negative agronomic features which might make me go for a variety which is low yielding but more reliant. LG Detroit was also firstly recommended in 2019. It's a Group 2, so focuses a little bit more on quality in these varieties. Treated yield is 100, which is about average. Untreated yield is 77. The untreated yield there would definitely make me wonder if it was a variety for Northern Ireland. So you have quite a high risk of yield loss due to disease, 33% in fact. So as a choice for Northern Ireland, potentially not a good one going forward. KWS Firefly is a Group 3 variety. It has high treated yields of 102 and very good untreated yields of 84. It does have lower specific weight, but apart from that, it seems a reasonably good option for Northern Ireland. KWS X Days was first recommended in 2019. It's a Group 3 variety that has very good treated yields of 101 and exceptional untreated yields of 95. And this is probably due to, in a large part, its exceptional resistance septoria, which is 8.1. And this is only beaten by Theodore, which is a new variety. So it has fantastic disease resistance, very good untreated yields. It also has high specific weight and high Hagberg falling number. So it's less susceptible to sprouting. So I would say X Days is actually a really good variety for Northern Ireland. RGT Saki is a new recommendation for 2020. It's a soft group 4 with high treated yields of 104%, untreated yields of 86%. Its specific weight is a little low and it is one of the later ripening varieties. So whilst it does offer potentially very good yield as a feed wheat, it does run the risk of late harvest and low specific weight. Theodore is a new variety for 2020. It's a hard group 4. Treated yields are 100, which is about average, but its untreated yields are 90%. So that's the highest untreated yield for all the wheats in trial. It also has a very high Hagberg falling number, so it is less susceptible to sprouting. Its septoria resistance is the highest of all varieties in trial currently at 8.2. And so it has a lot of potential for Northern Ireland in that it is a low-risk variety. Only 10% yield penalty there between treated and untreated. It has relatively stiff straw, so it has a lot going for it in terms of potential for our region. SY Insitor is a new addition to the recommended list for 2020. It is a hard group 4, and its treated yield is 105, so it shares the top spot for all varieties on the recommended list with LG Skyscraper. The untreated yield for Insitor is 82%, so it has a relatively good disease resistance profile. In terms of resistance septoria, it is 6.6. It performs well across a range of soil types and rotational positions. The only potential downside for Insitor is its straw strength, but it does respond well to PGR, so has potential as a good variety for Northern Ireland.
KWS Kinetic is a new recommendation for 2020. It's a high-yielding hard group 4 variety, and its treated yield is 104% of treated controls. With an untreated yield of 79%, it's perhaps a bit lower than is desirable in terms of its performance where there's no protection from fungicide. This is partly due to its less than average resistance septoria, which is sitting at 5.0. It does, however, have an 8 for resistance to yellow rust. It has performed well across the UK, including a range of rotational positions and soil types. It has short, stiff straw and good specific weight of 78.3 kilograms per hectolitre. Its Hagberg falling number is 269, so this variety also has good resistance to sprouting. The next 17 varieties are all candidates. There are 7 potential bread and biscuit making varieties and 10 potential feed varieties. There is limited information on these varieties as they have only just completed national list testing, but we do have some basic data on them. The yield of these 70 varieties ranges from 100 to 103% in treated trials, so not much variation in the treated scenario, but in untreated trials the yields range from 77 to 92% of treated controls. So quite a lot of variation there, and obviously going forward for Northern Ireland, the best varieties are those that have high untreated yields, so they are lower risk in a high disease pressure year. Specific weight is also highly variable, ranging from 74 to over 78 kilograms per hectolitre. Some of these varieties also have very low Hagbergs, for example 172, so the potential to be very susceptible to sprouting is there and best avoided for Northern Ireland growing conditions. In terms of disease resistance, septoria ranges from 5 to 7, with some varieties having very poor resistance to mildew. Most, however, have good resistance to yellow rust. Once these varieties have completed their first year in recommended list trials, we'll be in a better position to make a more informed decision on their performance and suitability for Northern Ireland. So those are the winter wheat varieties of interest in our AHDB trial at AFBI AHDB. There's a lot to choose from depending on your requirements, but most growers in Northern Ireland like to have high yields with low yield penalty, so good untreated yields, good disease resistance, particularly with respect to septoria and yellow rust. Good specific weight and low Hagberg falling numbers are also very desirable. With low Hagbergs, you get low susceptibility to sprouting. And of course, straw strength is important. So of the currently recommended varieties on the list, the subset that I would like to sort of hone in on are firstly Graham. This is excellent treated and untreated yields. It's got good specific weight and high Hagberg falling number. Of the new ones, KWS X Days is looking very good. Its yields treated situation are average, but these are really bolstered by high untreated yields of 95%. So it's a very low risk variety with excellent disease resistance. Straw strength for X Days is also very good and it responds well to PGR2. It has excellent specific weight and a Hagberg falling number of nearly 300. Also worth a mention is another 2 new hard group 4 recommendations, and these are SY Inciter and KWS Kinetic. Both yield well, with Inciter having just the edge over Kinetic in both treated and untreated yields. Inciter, however, has better disease resistance, whereas Kinetic has stronger straw. In terms of specific weight and Hagberg falling number, they are both on a par and very good. Inciter is a little later ripening than Kinetic. Theodore is definitely worth a look. It has average treated yields, but exceptional untreated yields. It has strong straw that responds well to PGR and has an 8.2 for septoria resistance, and this is the highest on the recommended list. It also has the highest Hagberg falling number, so it should be very resistant to sprouting. Its only negative could be a low specific weight, which is 73.4 kilograms per hectolitre. Hopefully that gives you a good flavour of what is available if you're looking to grow winter wheat. I'm happy to answer any further questions via email, and my email address is lisa.black@afbini.gov.uk. Thank you very much.
Okay folks, thanks once again for watching the variety trials, the virtual tour. I'd like to just take the opportunity to thank Lisa Black and her staff at AFBI AHDB for making this all possible, and also to the AHDB for their continuing funding of the variety trials within Northern Ireland. Once again, I would remind you that there are a lot of resources available online on the AHDB website, including the variety selection tool and the recently launched recommended list app. So I'd encourage you to make use of both of those. And once again, just like to wish you a successful harvest, and thank you for watching.